on the market. I ain't gonna worry about me juicing or getting herbs and all of that. That's after the fact. So when she did what she did, when she went through what she went through, and survived it, and went through the harshest thing, and the doctor said, matter of fact, when she went in to get after the ambulance came and got her after I revived her, the ambulance came. They took her blood. They didn't know what was wrong with her. They had to send away to the National Institute of Health to get their prognosis on what the heck was going on, because what she had was so rare at the time. So whatever it was that attacked her at the cellular level, at the chromosomal level, that was something we did not know about. It was like a clock that went off, like a timer that went off, that that would have been her age, and she would have been left the planet when that went off. That was her time up. And when a clock wakes you up with an alarm, the alarm would have put her to sleep forever.
Now, I'd like to clarify a couple of things. And I'm so glad that he shared this because this is the foundation of what was going on. Okay, so when I got to the hospital, they took my blood, obviously. Well, actually, they didn't take my blood. They were giving me blood because they said that my blood count was so low. They couldn't understand why I was alive. Okay. However, they said when a person comes into the hospital with this kind of condition, usually 35% of their blood is leukemic. And I want to make a strong differentiation between tumoral cancers and blood cancers. Very different. Like I said, when I had the breast cancer, he helped me heal it. Da, da, da. I've heard people say, well, I had stage 4 and I used these herbs. That's marvelous. That's wonderful. I have yet to hear of somebody who had blood cancers to this degree that I had it and survive at all with any kind of treatment. So they said usually a person has 35% of their blood being leukemic. When I arrived, 87% of my blood was cancerous.
Damn.
Almost 90% of my blood. That's why they didn't expect me. That's one reason they didn't expect me to survive. The second reason is that because of my age. And so I get to explain too, just a little more clarity or detail to what my husband was saying about why I made that choice. They said you might take this for the rest of your life, which, by the way, might be 2 years. Or you could take this really strong treatment that we don't like to give anybody, younger than 50 years old. And of course, to me, there was no option.
Yeah, older than 50 years old, you mean?
Yeah, right, older than, yeah, older than 50. So to me, there was no option. There was no other option. And originally, because of the way our minds think, originally when we first thought about it, we were saying, well, I can go to the acupuncturist, we know what we can do naturally. And I was going to an acupuncturist for a while, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And time was of the essence. And so thankfully, I just went ahead on and went to the doctor, and that's what happened. Now, the book goes into almost just like a diary, what I was thinking at the time and what he was thinking at the time, right before I passed in a certain way and then was revived. So all of that is in the book. The book is very simply written.
And the foreword is written by Shaka Khan. Get that ready. Shaka Khan and her sister wrote the foreword because she heard, well, we know the family. And when they read her story and they heard of her story, they said they wanted to be participant because they, of course, went through their own medical issues and they came out of it, and they were in a kind of a survival group people who survived their trials. And so they wanted to write the foreword to her book. And during the webinar, I'll read the foreword for Shaka and for her. And she might even, hopefully, might visit us. We don't know. Hopefully, she would come on.
Yeah, I'm let me show left this realm or stop breathing or whatever term they call it. Do you have any memory, out of body experiences, recollections, anything from that moment?
My memory is so clean and clear as to what I was going through. And because my husband acted so quickly, he shook me back because I went blank. And even that, what I was thinking right before everything just went black. And even that, those thoughts are in the book, in the diary of the book, of the beginning of it, because that's exactly, I remember it very clearly. I felt I was struggling. I couldn't understand what was going on. I went through some mental confusion. Now, this is right before. And then all of a sudden it was peace. And everything was just black and everything stopped. And I wasn't aware of what was going on his side. We're going to read that Tuesday night, because I'm going to read the whole first chapter, which is very brief. It's not a long book and it's not a long chapter, very brief, so that everybody will get the feeling of what exactly was going on.
Well, the metaphysics of what I was thinking about, what she was going through, where I was and where she was at the time. I checked for her breathing and, checked for her chest. Everything stopped. And I was thinking that the void that she explains that she went through, that was the door that she would have accepted if she had turned away from me. That's why I kept saying to her, I kept smacking her face.
Don't give it away.
I said, don't you go nowhere. Come here.
Give it all away.
Yeah, she was getting ready to leave. And if she said that like you see, look in the background, you see that there's this light you have going on there. There's a blackness first, because I could remember, I could attest to it, because like I told you, back in Trinidad, I drowned and came back myself. And what happened is there's this blackness that happens, and then all of a sudden, there's this place that you're ending up with that, hey, I don't, this is fine. This is very cool. I don't feel anything because your body is not with you at that time. Your consciousness steps out of the condition that you're feeling physically. And then when I started smacking her and giving her nerves a point of reference for her senses to come back to, that's when she started coming back around, and she took a deep breath at that time.
Did you give her CPR?
He's giving it all away.
No, I didn't give it everything away. I just the CPR. I'll tell you when the time comes.
Tuesday night and find out what he did.
Wow.
I just giving you the conditions. Yeah, just the conditions. It was serious. It was harrowing, but there's a thing that my mother and I used to go through, because my mother had a very bad condition with her heart. She had these anxiety attacks and had a heart condition. And she used to take me around with her sometimes when she would go to her work and places, because every time she would go through a condition, everything in me began to go cold. I lose all feelings. I lose any connections to anything. My emotions completely leave my body and I become mechanical. I just switch into another head altogether. And I say, whatever that reality is that's going on out there, I'm going to change it, because I'm not going to have that dealing. You're not taking my wife. I told the ancestors at that time, you're not taking my wife. And so at this point, I just got cold and started smacking her, and knowing that she would come back, because, we were very close anyway. And I knew she would listen to me if she heard me.
And it's interesting because we're very similar in that way. I was, I was in Manhattan at school, actually. I was at the Swedish Institute for Massage Therapy during 9/11, and
Mm-hmm.
people were panicking in the hallways. And for some reason, I'm very much like my husband in that way. When something gets really threatening, that's when I become very clear, very
Mm.
quiet,
Excellent. Excellent.
very quiet, very clear. And it's like, this is what I do. This is what I'm going to do, right? So I don't even recall hearing his voice until I came back. So in the book, in the beginning of the book, I go through what I was thinking, like I said, and then his version and my version. And so we'll get the connection as to what I was thinking and what he was thinking. But I'll tell you, I'm so grateful that we have found each other for so many reasons. We didn't meet when we were young. And however, everything has its right time, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We were meant to have the children that we have with the mates that we had, with the
Mm.
partners, husband and his wife, who's a friend of mine. She's a sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
We have missions. We both had missions to accomplish, and then because we have such things that we are so similar in what we did. We were both entertainers. We both did music. We were both you did acting on stages, and we were both into metaphysics, into natural healing. Everything essentially was like I met up, and that's why every time somebody has a birthday, we sing to them in harmony, and they wonder, "Oh, how y'all sound good together?" Like you say, yeah, it's because we were both singers at one point. So it was. It seems like this was a kind of a path that we began helping me, and I began to find my peace when she came into my life. I was able
Mm.
to do things that allowed me to rest from worrying about too many things going on around me, if you understand what I mean. And what she did was afford me the ability to get back into writing my book, for example. I have a book that I was writing and I couldn't get back into writing the book. Everybody's asking me, when's your next book coming out? I couldn't write it. I didn't have the peace of mind necessary for that to happen. And so we began to work together in order to rebuild what it is we had in probably another life.
With the human body, and we know the male human body is different from the female human body, regardless of what they try to tell us. Is the man or woman able to handle stress or trauma more than the other? Like, is women able to handle it more, or men able to handle it more, or does it affect both of us? Like, it hits us both the same.
Well,
It depends on the type of
mhm.
if I may. It really does. I mean, physically, we know a man is much stronger than a woman, and yet they always talk about the fact that women can have babies. Well, we were created to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we were able to handle that kind of stress. And
Mm-hmm.
so I know my husband's going to talk about a lot of kinds of stresses that we are not created to handle. And that's why women are having the wounded womb. Come on.
The woman, right, right, right.
It's all there. And I'll tell you, when he showed me the manuscript of that book way back in the 1990s, I said to him, I immediately saw that this book is going to be one of the most important books ever written. And so
Mm-hmm.
he'll share what he knows about stress and the difference between male and female.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kinds of stress. I'll just say this. When a baby is involved, when a family is involved, you can see a woman come up with some strength that she didn't know she
Right,
had.
That's true.
Okay.
right.
However, to live day and day in and day out and day in with the kind of stresses women are going through today, no wonder we're dying too early.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to do that because I found that the stress that women were going through at the time, I began writing the book. Book was actually built up in sections over a period of time
Mm-hmm.
from 1998 going forward. and it began building on it. And I began to see that there was a certain type of stress that feminism forced women to have to address. And because of the way that they adopted the masculine format for life, that stress began to take more of the energy they use to keep the peace. You can't have a healthy baby with a stressed mother. The mother can't be stressed and give birth to a healthy child. And so that became the foundation for why a fibroid tumor was actually forming in the women at the time. And that was at the time when Queen Afua and I were working together. And what happened was that I said that the metaphysics of a fibroid tumor was the fact that a woman had gone through a stress that was targeted through her feminine ego. The feminine ego is what essentially is targeted. When that is attacked, the woman's emotions are registered as a sonic beam, as a sonic sound in the womb. And there is a wound, WOUND, that takes place in that area. And now the body says, oh, there's damage there. It's on the psychospiritual level. So let me rush defensive materials to the area where she is feeling that pain. And so what happens is build up there, that then becomes encapsulated. That bruise now is being defended by a whole lot of fibrin. Fibrin is the material that when you cut your finger, that's what is rushed to the area to close the area off to heal. But over here, when you see this fibrin collecting around the womb to create a fibroid tumor, most people say, oh, don't worry about it. It's small. Let's let it grow. We'll see what happens. No. And in my book, I tell people how the fibroid tumor grows, how it comes about, and what they're putting themselves through, and the type of emotional stress, the pain, the anguish of having to do things in a man's world that keeps them away.
Now, it's interesting that he brings up the fibroid tumor, because when I first went to him and we were sitting across from each other, he was looking beside me like this. And he says, now I'm looking at you. And what I see, and I'm thinking to myself, he's not looking at me. He was looking at my aura on the side. But he said, and about that tumor that you have in your womb. And I said, excuse me, no, it's in my breast. And he said, you have one there too. And sure enough, I went to the doctor and he said that I had a tumor there in the womb. However, the program that he put me on took care of both of them. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
I still think about that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you have one there too. I didn't know.
How would you
There was when you have a site, I could look at somebody and listen to their voice over the phone and tell them what their particular disease is. I can see there's an auric field someone has, and there was an auric field off to the side that not only for the breast, but as I looked down up and down the side, there was a dimming at that area too. So I saw it, and there's a way back when I was in my element and I was doing my fasting and my purification and doing my Agnihotra, my senses, my spiritual senses were very high. And so when I was looking at her, I went into a trance state and I could see colors around her. And that color was blank there. There's like a deficit, like an ulcer. There's an ulcer in the aura. And you could tell. And because there's a deficit of energy flowing through that area. And so I said that, you have a fibroid as well. And she was taken aback for a moment. And I said, well, yeah. I said, go ahead, check it out. And so I put her on a program, and then I think it was like 45 days later, she went back to the doctor, and there was no more tumors in the breast or in the womb.
Do you, Dr. Nalani, do you notice a difference, not just physically, but spiritually, from how you feel now versus 5 years ago when you had that and maybe you didn't know? Is there like a spiritual difference?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, after being in that situation and
Mm,
coming back,
mm.
we always talk about how it feels. I always say to my husband, I say it all the time, it feels good to feel good. Because when I was going through it, I didn't realize I didn't allow it to register. I didn't allow the seriousness and the fear and the pain. I refused to allow it to register. So looking back, wow, that was some scary stuff going on.
Mm,
However, experiencing life now as opposed to how it was 5 years ago and even 3 years ago,
mhm,
I am living, I cannot express how joyful my life is right now,
mm,
how good it feels to be alive. Let's be real. I don't know if I'm going to be here 10 years from now. I
mhm,
believe I will, and I feel like I will. However, they say, it takes 5 years for you to know if a cancer is completely gone. Well, I have zero cancer cells in my blood at the time that the last time I was checked. Now, I'm sure there are some there now because we all have cancer cells, and we have something called NK cells, natural killer cells, that actually seek out and help. They're part of the macrophages that actually kill the cancer cells. And by the way, massage therapy increases your NK cells. I don't know if you
mhm,
know that, so that
mhm,
you're able to help to get rid of the cancer. So, yes, I may have those cells. However, my body is in a place now that it can handle it because I have a brand new immune system.
Yeah.
I like to use the word immune because I don't think we're immune to anything. A brand new defense system.
Hmm.
mhm.
So, yeah, I feel amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely
That,
amazing,
that's beautiful.
especially one of the things. And by the way, Dr. Valentine designed this flyer. He gave the publisher, he and the publisher's designer worked together on the actual book cover. It was
Mhm,
his concept, though. It was my concept. I always wanted it to be a phoenix,
mm,
for all that a phoenix does and means. What I was thinking was just a phoenix. And so
mhm.
they gave me the phoenix, and then my husband said, "Nah, you got to be in that phoenix."
Woo.
And he was the one that did that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Once again, family is going down May 28th. This is a free webinar, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
yeah, yeah. I see. Shout out to King Simon in chat sharing. King Simon is actually sharing the actual link that you could click on to get more information and to register.
Good.
The link is also in the description. So you could
Mhm.
click on the link in the chat via King Simon, or you could go to the description of this video and click on the link. But I got just about two more questions. I don't want to keep you long. I want
Mhm.
everybody to come to this webinar May 28th at 8 p.m. I mean, wow, this story is just I'm like glued to the screen right now, just listening to the story right now. How has this changed your perception? Because a lot of us, the way we live life, we may not express gratitude most of the time. Has this changed? And we don't realize the importance of
Yes.
expressing gratitude. Has
Yeah.
this changed your perception of gratitude?
In a big way. And it's interesting. I always, and this is also in the book, I teach because I've been with some really, the company that I work with has some really dynamite people. And somebody there suggested, they gave us a rock. My rock is over there, a couple of years ago. And they
Mm,
said, just put one word on this rock that you want your life to
mm,
be or to mean for the rest of the year. So we do
mm.
this in January, and instead of writing, what do you call it when people write? Um,
New Year's resolutions?
Year's resolutions, just take one word. And some people even have a difficult time with that because they want to make it a sentence or a couple of words. No, one word. So my one word in year 2022, now this was in March of 22 when I got the diagnosis. And
Mm-hmm.
in January, my one word for the year was ease. And
Mm.
I had no idea what I would be facing. And I have to say, I went through that entire experience with ease. And
Mm.
so last
Mm.
year, my word was joyful. And this year in January, my word is thankful. And
Mm.
whatever word you choose, I promise you, you will experience a lot of it's just going to keep coming, keep flowing at you, no matter what the word is, and in
Mm.
many different ways. And it'll take you back to the fact that, oh, I said that was how it's going to be. And yeah, much more gratitude and not in a superficial way.
Mm. Mm.
Gratitude down in the bone marrow,
Okay.
literally, literally
Okay.
in the marrow. And that's
Uh,
why I'm so joyful. I can't be still anyway. I love music. And whenever I hear music, I'm dancing.
uh,
And there was a time that I couldn't dance, I couldn't walk.
uh,
I could hardly stand. It would take me a full 30 seconds just to stand up from the chair. And so now I do these exercises. I sit down and stand up and sit down and stand up. And 3 weeks ago, I could do six before my muscles, because my muscles were like spaghetti. After going through that and coming back, my mind and my muscles were not completely the way it used to be. And
right.
so now that it has come back, so now I do 20 in the morning, just
Excellent.
after 3 weeks of stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down. So I'll be dancing soon.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. Wow. What a show. What a show. Family, once again, it's going down May 28th. I want all y'all to definitely be there. King, shout out to King Simon once again. He has the link to the webinar in the chat. Also, family, make sure what's the email to donate, Dr. Valentine.
Yeah, the PayPal, our PayPal, just for a love offering, because they did hit us very badly financially for a while. The love offering could be done to chemitearth at gmail.com. That's Kemet Kemet, Earth, EARTH, at gmail.com. That's our PayPal. And if you do want to send that love offering, we would appreciate it. Please send it to friends and family so that they don't tax us and
Mhm.
tax you for that. And just to let you know how, just the story itself, and you can't really envision it unless you were there, in the urgency of the moment. We can only tell you what happened after the fact. But in the urgency of the moment, I don't know whether or not anybody has ever been in an emergency situation. But you have to know how to think and act without emotions. You have to be on it, and you have to be very clear about what your next move is going to be. And while I was going through everything, you have to have a mind that's clear and pointed and focused. And that's what I want to also convey to brothers and sisters out there who are in emergency situations. I've seen on the videos and on YouTube that when emergency situations happen, people start to getting crazy and not, they start to, and that's not good. You have to learn how to put everything aside. If you if you've ever been close to death or ever had a run-in with death and survived, you know that there is a way for you to act. It is not it's not a strange thing anymore. It's not a threatening thing anymore. And our ages, we've lived full lives.
Mhm.
So, you know that we have more. more years behind us than we do in front. I don't
Mm.
know if that's true or not, but whatever it is, that we assess our time frames are, we know what life is about. We understand what it's about, but we are preparing for the transition. In our minds, we're living the fullest and the most, joyful, as my wife says, time. We laugh boisterously. We find things that's funny. We love to laugh at comedy, at things that's going on, at the ironic.
We don't laugh, we holler.
We holler, yeah.
Woo!
And if you're not hollering with your mate, if you're not hollering and laughing with your mate, then there's something going on with you. That's why we could find funny things in the same thing, and we wake up and it's just beautiful how our lives are coming together, and the fact that she came from where she did, and I in my childhood came from where we did. That's that's all that needs to be said. But I would put a caveat. There's things going on right now in this society and in the world that people have been calling me incessantly about what's going on. Dr. V, what can I do, and so forth. You know what it's doing, Brother Rich? It's forcing me to have to do another webinar.
Mm.
So I don't know. I'm going to call you and talk with you about that a little later on. But right now, my main thing, I keep telling people I can't help you right now. My
Mhm.
wife has a project, and I am focused totally on that project. I want people to read her life story and what she went through to actually be the person that she is right now after the fact.
Mhm.
Resurrection in physical and in spiritual, that's a deep, deep experience. And so, maybe your people, it's not as exciting a subject to broach, but I think that coming back to life from death,
Mhm.
and I know that she had passed on and was standing at the door, coming back from something like that and going through what she went through at her age,
Mhm.
because she had, the doctor said she had the organs of a 20-year-old,
Whew. Man.
a 20-year-old, and we're in our mid 70s. So that's testament that her living and her lifestyle and what she does, how she eats, how she exercises, what we take in the juice pluses and the whole 9 yards, that's no joke.
Mhm.
We're
Mhm.
not playing around when we speak to people and tell them about the way that they have to incorporate things into their lives for them to live a rich and an uneventful life. If you understand what I mean, because we went through an event, we like uneventful life living.
Mhm.
So just that alone, I tell that to the people out there. If you've trusted me for the last 40 years and my wife for the last 25 years and what we've done, please trust me. This is a story you would want to read. And like I said, you should. The foreword by Shaka Khan is absolutely beautiful. And I hope that you all are there on the 28th at 8 p.m. To enjoy it with us.
I just want to